administrator. Our selectmen are here. They're the ones that really prompted us to have this for all of their constituents, who are you, all of you residents, to be able to understand the effects of these smart meters that are going to be put in. So we have the communications team from Eversource who are going to explain it. There is a little trailer out in the parking lot that showed what the meter would look like and what it would look like on your computer if you were to log in, etc. Is that going to be here tomorrow?
It's physically here tomorrow, but I don't think we have
nobody's gonna be there.
anybody to
Nobody went out there today I did, but not very many people went out there today. But anyway, we're here to find out about the smart meters. So I am going to turn it over to Eversource. Again, thank you for coming, and hopefully this will clear it up and answer the questions that anybody has.
Hello, I'm Jason Valenti. I am the manager for the smart meter deployment here in Western Mass. Before this, I was the manager of our metering group out of the Boston and New Hampshire areas with regular traditional metering before we had the smart meter.
My name is John Caldwell. I'm a manager of community relations with Eversource. And I'm here with Leslie, who is a specialist on my team who helps cover Southwick. And yeah, we're excited to show you about what we're planning, explain the program, and field any of the questions that you have. Nicole was nice enough to let us know that you guys wanted a brief presentation just to understand what's going on. So we're happy to come have a conversation with you guys, and looking forward to it. So I'll have a brief presentation, and then we can take some questions after, if that works.
And I'm just trying to get this to share, so as soon as
Okay.
Is that you?
It might be that.
Well, I
It has to share it. It should be, they want to cover it?
Oh, that was it.
Okay. Okay.
Did you?
I did.
Did you get it?
Seems to be letting you in.
Yep, I was. Yeah, it's for maybe.
Once I get this.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start with the basics here. So what is a smart meter? Well, a smart meter is a digital electric meter that has wireless communication that will allow the meter to talk back through a network back to Eversource, which will provide kind of data to our billing and information systems. And there's this picture here on the screen. You can kind of see kind of on the house there, that's where your meter would be. On the pole, that's an access point. Meters essentially will send data to the access point that has a cellular modem in it, and that modem will call back with the encrypted data and get that data back to Eversource. And so why are you getting a smart meter? Well, like any kind of device, those devices have shelf lives, and kind of when it's time to exchange the meters, it makes sense for us to put the latest and greatest technology in. And kind of one of the nice things about kind of a smart metering is your meter that you have on your house now, we read once a month, basically by an AMR van that drives by and gets the data. And that's the only piece of data you get on your bill. It's really just that reading once a month. And even if you go on to eversource.com, you can still only see that one piece of data, because that's the only data Eversource has, is just the reading on that date. With the smart meter, you'll be able to see 15-minute data throughout the entire month. And the other thing, it gives us a lot of data in terms of how the grid is functioning so we can make a safer, more reliable grid as well. And as of 2022 in the United States, there were 119 million smart meters installed across the country. About 72% of all meters in the US are currently smart meters. And so what are some of the benefits? Near real-time data access, enhanced notifications and alerts, power outage alerts, high energy uses alerts, high bill alerts will now be available through eversource.com, where the old metering didn't have that to be able to provide. And some kind of additional offerings, automated outage reporting. So once we get enough of these meters installed, there'll no longer be a need to call into Eversource when you lose power. The meters will actually integrate directly in with our outage management system, and Eversource will know who is out during a storm, and that's going to help us restore power faster to our customers. And you'll also be able to see projected bill amounts when you go into eversource.com throughout the month, and you can kind of see where your bill is now, and if you keep using the same amount of usage, what that bill will be like at the end of the month. Where right now, for some customers, it's kind of a surprise. You don't know what your electric bill is going to be until you get it. This will give you insight throughout the month, where maybe you have an opportunity, if you see the bill is going to be really high, this might be an opportunity to turn back the air conditioning because you know it's going to be a very expensive bill. And so how do you know when you're going to get a smart meter? Well, for everyone that's in Southwick, you probably already received a 90-day letter, a 60-day letter, and most likely also a 30-day letter. So we do send 3 letters out to everybody kind of notifying you that the meters are coming. We're starting in Southwick next week. And that would probably be most of the town will probably start next week, but there may be some stragglers because we're deploying this based on a meter reading route cycle and it's not based on a town cycle. But most of the town will start getting their meters exchanged next week. And so what will happen on the day of your meter exchange? So we've partnered with a vendor, Grid One Solutions, to physically do the exchanges. And there's a picture of their truck here, so this is what their truck will look like. It'll have that badge, Grid One Solutions, on it. And there's also going to be another badge on the back door there that says they're an Eversource contractor with the electric smart meter program on it. They're also all going to have a Eversource contractor badge. So if you're a little bit unsure as if this person is really from Eversource, take a look out. You should see the truck, and they will have an Eversource contractor badge. That way you know that it's actually them and not somebody else on your property. And when the meter is exchanged, there's typically about a 5-minute power interruption when the old meter is physically taken out of the socket. They do some tests, and then they put the new meter in. So typically the interruption is only about 5 minutes. And then just as a reminder, the technicians will never ask for any money or personal information of any kind when changing your meter, so do not provide anything like that to a technician. And so how will you know if your meter has been upgraded? So what the technicians will do is if they're going to ring the doorbell or knock on the door at the time of exchange. If you happen to be home, they'll let you know right then and there that, hey, I'm here to exchange your meter, and you're going to have a brief power interruption. If now is not a convenient time, you can have that conversation with them and they can come back a little bit later in the day or schedule another appointment for you later if you say working from home. We can definitely arrange to accommodate that. And you're also, if you weren't home, they're going to leave a door hanger letting you know that the meter's been exchanged. So if you come home, you'll see the little tag, hey, your meter's been exchanged. And about a week after your meter's been exchanged, you'll be able to go onto eversource.com and start seeing new metering information that you've never been able to see before. All right, and so this is a question we get asked a lot, can I opt out? So right now, almost every residential customer has what's called an AMR, automated meter reading meter, and there was never an option to opt out of that meter. There were a number of customers that wanted to opt out for a variety of different reasons, and that wasn't available to them. With the smart meter, you can actually opt out of this program if you do not wish to participate, but there are charges to do so to recoup some of the costs associated with now needing to manually read your meter. So there is a $42 one-time opt-out fee, but what we've been trying to do, if you opt out before we come out to exchange that meter the first time, we're already rolling a truck to your house. So we have not been charging that $42 fee if you opt out in advance. But the $34 monthly fee, that's to cover sending a meter reader to manually read your meter each month. Right now, they're able to kind of drive by and get the whole neighborhood. If you opt out, they'll need to come to your house and visually look at your meter and take a reading down. And we'll have to send somebody each and every month in order to do that. So customers can opt out anytime, but if you're interested in opting out, definitely call Eversource, talk to us, because you will not get the $42 fee if you opt out in advance, but you will get that later if we have to send an additional truck. And so this is just showing a little bit more about kind of the layout of the website, what it's going to look like in the future. On the left-hand side, you can see there's a lot less information that's available. And right after the meter exchange, there's more information. After it has kind of 2 months of data, it can start giving you some more insights as it's seen what your usage patterns have been. And this kind of shows that detailed usage pattern right here, and you can see kind of by date what your usage has been. And we also included temperature on there because there's typically a strong correlation between temperature and energy use, as many people use their electricity to either cool or heat their home. So that's just informational, but it does kind of help you try to figure out what's going on if you're trying to make sense of your electric bill. And so what other features and tools may be available to you after you get your smart meter? So when you go into eversource.com, it can use an algorithm to kind of give you a breakdown of what it thinks each appliance is using to kind of give you an idea of how you're using your energy in your house. It doesn't actually know. It's guessing based on historic norms and how you're using the power, but it's relatively accurate. And using that information, that can kind of help you see what's happening and kind of make your electrical a little bit less of a surprise. And it will take about 2 to 4 months for there to be enough information at eversource.com for that to work. So if that's something you're looking forward to, give it a little bit more time and it'll be in there. I know that one of our employees that was one of the first person to get a smart meter was pretty excited when she was able to see how much energy that her pool pump was using. And she's like, oh my goodness, it's using a lot more energy than I ever would have thought. And then this is kind of another screenshot of what the multi-account view would look like. So if you have multiple Eversource accounts with multiple meters, that's what that display would look like. And kind of how else? So you can download your data, and should you wish to share it with a solar company or energy efficiency company, you can securely and seamlessly link that to a third-party service provider. But that's something that you would need to do. Eversource is not selling or giving away your data, but it's your data, and should you wish to share it with someone for energy efficiency or for solar, you do have that ability. And that's an optional service you certainly don't need to share with anyone. All right, this kind of brings us to the question slide here. And I do have a meter with me. If I can pass it around the room, if you'd like to see it, or I can just leave it up at the front if anybody would like to see a meter. But just looking at it, it looks very similar to just a solid state electric meter. Should I pass it around? You want to see it first? Should we open up to the floor?
Yeah. How do you want to handle it?
I have some questions on Zoom.
Okay.
Just start fielding questions.
Yeah. All right, in the back.
So this is operates on a network, which is basically wireless. Right?
Correct.
So what protections and guarantees you have in place when these systems get hacked?
So these are all encrypted, and it's kind of the latest encryption technology, and they keep increasing the encryption because you have to stay ahead of the hackers. They're actually working on a new quantum encryption, because it's kind of the fear with quantum computing someday coming out, you'll need a higher level of encryption. But it's all encrypted. It meets industry standards.
Okay, because I do know for a fact that there are other places in the country that have used these, and they've gotten hacked, and they've said the same thing. I mean, this is a wireless system. You can take a wireless camera, take all that, doesn't matter how many times you encrypt it, it still get hacked. So what happens when that gets hacked? What are you going to do about all the data that's been released about me?
Do you want to take a stab at that one, John?
I'm not sure how we would handle it, John, given
Yeah.
the quick repeat of the question is, if it's hacked, and you cited some examples elsewhere in the country, what are we going to do about it? So, I mean, I think as Jason was saying, we're trying to avoid that situation entirely, right? We're investing heavily to ensure that that does not happen. We have experts that are looking into this, and theoretically, we're learning from those other examples. I'm not well versed personally in what happened or how they hacked into those, but you can rest assured that our team is looking at that. They will learn if, it is a legitimate hack, it had happened. We're learning from that every single day. But if, somehow that were to happen, we would, honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna be transparent with you. We will work with you on it, and we'll go through the best steps in order to rectify whatever went wrong and make it whole in whatever way that looks like. But
So, why not say that?
well, because I think that there's all the benefits that have been enumerated throughout this slideshow.
There's nothing up there that
So we like to think that it's
you guys, and I get told by Eversource that it's to reduce the employee load. So I said to them, I said, well, if you're going to reduce your employee load, which means you're going to be laying people off, because first of all, you don't come to my house and read my meter. You drive by, I've never seen somebody in 25 years at my house. But, so what are you going to do when power outages and stuff like that happen, or these meters fail or something like that? If you're reducing your workforce, then how are you going to compensate for all that?
So the question is, are we doing this to reduce our workforce, and how are we going to respond to storms and restoration if we reduce our workforce? So this is not a workforce reduction technology. We're not looking to do that. The primary drivers of this are to get visibility for you as the customer, so that you can be empowered really to take control of where is my energy usage going? Can I adjust anything? Can I get alerts to understand that my bill is getting a little high before it's too late? So it's empowerment for you guys. And additionally for Eversource, we get visibility in that same storm that you referenced. We will now know immediately that you are out. So we'll be able to roll the truck to restore your service much faster and in a much better way. And additionally, we'll learn from it as well. We'll be able to get other data from the grid itself, so we'll be able to improve the overall health of it in order to provide some more reliability for the entire grid itself, not just your home in particular.
Let somebody else, I got other questions.
Okay, next.
Okay, first of all, you already read our meters. Why do we have to pay $34 for you to read our meters remotely, when that's already being paid for by us?
So right now, that is correct, we are reading your meters right now, but
That's
we're
right.
doing it with a drive-by van.
And that's on you, because that's your company. Why do we have to pay to take the onus off you when you are already charging us for that in your little bill?
So I understand your concerns, but essentially
I don't
what's
want you to
gonna,
understand them, I want you to answer them.
John, you're pretty good with these types of questions.
Well, yeah, I guess understanding is the first step, but could you just repeat it for me again?
We are already having our meters read, which is included in one of those ubiquitous lines on the bill we currently receive. So why are you trying to charge us for doing your job? How do we know that those meters that you say are not communicating, that we have to pay $34, are in fact not communicating? And why are you placing the onus on us when we already pay for you?
So the question is, I guess a couple in there. One is, if we're already paying for the meters, why do we need to pay, why do we need to pay extra to send
Yes.
someone out?
That is
And
correct.
additionally, how do we know if it's not communicated? So I guess on the
And now it says that you know every appliance I'm using. That's an invasion of my privacy.
So you are allowed to, if privacy is paramount to you, you can opt out,
Pay
right?
$34, but you already do it. So why is there $34 now when you're already reading it now? It seems, like you're sneaking.
So yeah, it's not, we're not trying to present this as like, is penalizing people who decide not to opt
But
in.
you are.
It's to pay for that person.
You are penalizing us to the amount of $34, just to let you know.
Well, yes, and it's to pay for a
Yes.
service. It's not it's not that we are penalizing you
No,
because
you're
we wanted
making
you
it
to do
easier for
it.
yourself and you're penalizing us. That's fairly obvious.
So I'd like to frame it a little bit in that it makes the job more difficult for the individual who then needs to go from house to house and then not,
And that
and
is
not
on
in a
you.
full.
You are the supplier. That's part of your job. That's like saying, oh, I'm gonna charge you to stack the oranges at the grocery store now because now we need an extra orange stacker. That's on you.
So yeah, I guess in order to provide, reliable service and to provide, a high level of service,
Isn't that what your delivery fee, which is 10 times as much as my bill,
That's right.
my usage?
so I guess,
Is that
yeah,
what it
I guess
is?
to stick on this question first and then we can get right
Oh,
to it.
I would love to. know
Oh,
this.
yeah, wait till you get to her after me.
Perfect. That's why we're here, right? We do want to answer your questions. We're not trying to hide the ball or anything like that. We wanted to come out and answer.
We're actually very sorry that you had the unfortunate task to be here today.
I appreciate you guys coming out and having a conversation with us. But no, I understand where you're coming from. I see how you can see it that way. But
How can
I'm
you
telling you
see
that's
it
not the
different?
intent. It's
How
not
can
to
you see it a
be.
different way? I just gave you an example. I own a business. I already pay someone to stack my oranges. Now I'm gonna tell these people, oh, for $10 a month, we're glad you're our customer. We're gonna charge you $10 a month to come in our store. I'll go to a different store, but I can't because you're the only store. But oh, by the way, I have to hire an extra orange stacker. And that's gonna cost you more money in addition to the $10, oh, I'm glad you're my customer fee. How do you justify charging us extra for something you already do?
So I'm going to attempt to answer that as best as I can. And so in kind of the supermarket analogy with the oranges, if
Yes.
we didn't charge you that extra fee, we'd have to charge everyone more for oranges. And so what's happening is because the fee is related to you opting out and most of the customers are not opting out, that fee was put on you. Otherwise, it'd be socialized across everybody as
The
part of
fee
the
is
balance.
already on everyone, so you're not singling, what you're trying to tell me is that I'm being penalized because I don't go along with your new plan, okay? But right now, everyone's paying it. So how can you stand here and say, basically what you just said to me is we're penalizing you because you're not a sheep?
So yeah, and just to add to what he was saying, we're a regulated utility. We're not allowed to.
You're a privately held company that is traded on the stock market.
That is true.
So there you go. You have to do what private businesses do.
But we don't have the luxury that most private businesses do to set their own prices by themselves.
Right?
Everything we do
They
goes
do
through a
is
regulator.
implicit with you.
And we make the same argument to them, and then they say it either is legitimate or it is not legitimate. In this case, the department agreed that this is a legitimate expense in order to pay for reliable service.
Right, well, they're another whole story of ridiculousness. So let's say that I.
Would you mind if we
No,
just to
I
go around
want
the
this
room?
question answered too while I have you. You're gonna be here for a while.
I look forward to
What
it.
I need to know is, okay, two things on this question B. If I have disabilities and my doctor says that my temperature has to be X, but you decide, we're gonna, because we know exactly what appliance you're using, we're gonna turn down your air conditioner or turn up your heat, but I need a medical temperature. How would you accommodate that?
So the meter itself, while it does have a service switch, the switch is either on or off. There is no way for us to throttle it or control particular
You
appliances.
just said that you can tell exactly which appliance we're using so that we can try to save ourselves money by sweating.
So you can see that in your
But
eversource.com
just because we
portal.
see it, we can't feel it because we're medically unable to feel that way. So what's your response to that?
But if the question was if we were gonna control that or reduce your temperature, we can't do any of those things.
You can because you know exactly what, you already said you know what appliances we're using. How can we trust you to not say, oh, Kimberly's air conditioner is set too low, we need to fix that?
So this doesn't connect to your air conditioner, and it doesn't
Then how do you
control
know
the
what,
settings.
how do you know what appliances we're using, as you earlier stated you do?
It uses an algorithm that looks at kind of the waveform in your load, and it doesn't really know, it's guessing, and it's guessing in order to give you insights, but it doesn't 100% know what you're using.
So what are you going to do for people with health issues to resolve this problem that you think doesn't exist?
So we cannot control the appliances using this meter. It's
But
not a
you can
function.
control our consumption, can't you?
We actually don't control your
Can you
consumption.
or can't you? That's not will you. Do you have the ability?
The only, from just a purely technical standpoint, the only thing that this meter can potentially do is turn on and off remotely. That's it. It can't throttle loads. It can't do anything else.
Where's the off?
What are you gonna
How do we
do
know
with
if
the
it's
data
off
that
on
you
the meter?
collect? Are you selling it to a third party?
We're not selling it.
What happens when your meter reader comes to my house that's fully fenced in and wants to change my meter, but my 100-pound security system is gonna make hamburger? What are you
So-
gonna do? What's the situation there?
So we don't want to put our meter technicians at risk.
Right.
So we'll be calling, we'll talk about how we can resolve this and we can exchange
And
it.
so how long do we have to resolve this? I mean, you're gonna be installing meters for a year, so if my dog's gonna eat you because I'm unavailable, how long do I have before I actually have to conform to your meter?
So sorry, could you give me that question one more time?
How long can we hold out before you have to actually do this? Because I don't agree with this, and I have my dog outside ready to eat you guys. Okay?
This is
So,
getting
like,
absurd.
You are
Excuse me,
admitted
this is
it's
absurd.
over a year, so why can't I be at the end of the line?
I hear you on that, yeah, and it is, it is our meter, right? It is our meter that sits on your home right now. So we do have the right to swap it out and get access to that meter. But if you're asking, if you decide to put attack dogs in front of your home, we
he
won't
lives
be
there.
swapping it out,
He
but we
lives
can give
there. He's
you
part of my family, he's not an attack dog.
Totally.
He's a security.
a security dog if you decide to
That's
discuss
a whole
it, yes.
different story.
We'll be sure to work with you and
So
figure it
how
out.
long,
Next question.
Yes,
how
next
long
question,
out
please.
are you willing to work with us?
We're gonna get some other questions.
How
right
long
now.
out are you willing to work with us?
Next week. I guess I
They won't answer. You
my
can
first
ask me a
question. After, so my first question is, and it's actually more of like a confirmation. So even if we opt out of the smart meter, you're still installing a smart meter, you're just deactivating it.
It's deactivated. At that point, it'll work.
So we're
like
we're not really opting out, and
You're just gonna turn it
no
off.
real assurance that you're not gonna activate it at some point.
So it cannot be activated remotely. It would only be
Okay.
activated should you choose to opt out.
So you can shut my electricity off remotely regardless.
No.
Okay,
No.
so that's my first
Well,
thing.
once-
Second thing is, are you having licensed electricians switch out these meters?
So they are not licensed electricians. They are people trained to exchange meters.
But if I wanted to
Even-
switch out my meter before, I had to hire a licensed electrician that was also permitted by the town, but you're not doing that.
So if you wanted to change your meter socket, right, the box the meter goes in, that would, and if we wanted to do that, that would require a licensed electrician. The act of changing a meter out and putting another meter in does not require a licensed electrician. We do have one that's working with our vendor. In the case we run into, sometimes there's some older services out there, and sometimes we pull an electric meter and the service is really old and it needs to be repaired. So we do have a licensed electrician with us to make those kind of repairs, but the act of taking a meter out and putting one in does not require a licensed electrician.
So is there any protections against arcing or fires starting or any of that?
In terms of the meter exchange,
Because smart meters do have a tendency to catch on fire. So I'm just wondering what protections you're having. If you're not having licensed electricians come and install these, even though you think that you don't need that, what protections are we having against that? Because as far as I know, most home insurance companies will not cover house fires if it's caused by your smart meters. And we actually have to go after you guys for the deductible in the case that one does happen, because they won't cover it. Just so you guys know, I would call your home insurance companies and double check that because a lot of them do not cover it. That is not transparent with this switch out that you're putting out at all. And I think that people who have paid paid exorbitant amounts for their homes, and the safety of which should know that before opting into this. Or in any case, not even being able to opt out really, because you're still putting one in my house.
So let me answer that one. I'll try to answer that one first. So if you were to opt in, not if you were to opt out, but if you were to opt in, this does have arc detection, hot socket detection, where we can get notified that there's an issue with your meter socket. But if you're opted out, that information doesn't go anywhere.
Yes, but is it too late by then if it is shorted? The house fire is still happening, and my home insurance isn't gonna cover it. It's already done.
So-
It's not, which was not a problem with previous meters.
Well, so we do meter work all the time. Before smart meters, we were still exchanging meters as they failed. And that was not an issue. And there really isn't a difference in terms of changing a meter, whether it's the older fashions type of meter or a smart meter.
Yes, but the old fashioned type did not catch on fire spontaneously.
So depending on which meter you have on your home, if you have one that has a digital display, the battery that's in that meter is the same as the battery in this meter, and we have hundreds of thousands of those deployed across
The
Massachusetts.
battery
right
that
now.
one, is that not lithium?
Yeah, I don't know, it's partially lithium. I'm not a chemical engineer, but it is a lithium type battery. There's differences between them, but it's the same battery
Okay.
that's in our other solid state
Batteries
meters.
have a tendency to catch on fire. It is a higher probability.
I would say it's, from what Jason's telling you, there's no higher probability than the existing meter you have.
That's not true from the studies that I've seen, from the stats.
And who's gonna pay for it? That's what she asked, who will pay for it?
Will you pay the deductible if my house catches on fire? Or am I gonna have to sue you and be caught in a lawsuit where I'm gonna basically be sucked dry by the time your company,
That's not our intention, no.
Okay.
First of all, I'm sure you're aware of a Facebook group called Citizens Against Eversource. If you're not paying attention. Anyway, those batteries, and that was confirmed in one of my 3 calls to Eversource, those batteries are lithium batteries, okay?
Yes, they are.
Second of all, we've opted out. And in the fine print, it says I'm gonna pay $34 a month extra to have somebody come out and read my meter. However, in the fine print, it says if there's somebody not available to come out and read my meter that I'm paying $34 for, it'll be an estimated bill. So I'm gonna pay $34 a month, and nobody can come out and read it, and it's gonna be estimated, okay? I've called my insurance company, my homeowner's insurance policy, and they said that in the case of a fire from this lithium battery, that I will be covered. However, I will be responsible for the $1,000 deductible that I have on my house. That's not fair, okay?
So we do have a claims department where we
Yeah, I
have
know,
had
but-
issues with, say, a storm or something, where something happened.
Yeah, good luck with
And it was
that.
deemed to be the fault of Eversource. And the claims department handles all that, and I don't have a lot of knowledge into what they consider to be a justifiable claim versus unjustifiable claim. But we do have a claims department, and they do pay out on things similar to what you're describing, but I can't say with any certainty how they would treat that situation.
Now, I have a sign on my meter right now. When they come out to the house, they are not to touch the meter unless we're home. Because I've heard too many horror stories by some of these so-called electricians coming out, and they're causing all kinds of damages to people's current appliances. There's one lady that had to replace all her kitchen appliances. Everything was shorted out because of an inexperienced person changing out her meter. This is just unacceptable.
Was
And
that here in Western Massachusetts?
This Citizens Against Eversource is a Massachusetts-based group.
Okay.
There are 29 states in the United States that have refused these smart meters. They've opted out. And right now in Canada, the people are protesting them. They don't want them. But this is being crammed down our throats. We don't want them.
So the old meters, they go by once a month and read, and they see how many kilowatts you burn per month. And that's what they would charge you for the kilowatts used. In this meter, they're reading it every 15 minutes. And let's say, for instance, you come home, you turn your lights on, your wife puts the oven on, she puts the microwave on, you go in the bathroom, turn the lights on, put the fan on, and all of a sudden you get a spike of energy use. Is that what's billed for the month, the highest usage during that period of time, or how do you decide what? Because I've heard reports that you're getting a bill 30-40% higher because you're basing your charge on the highest usage during that 15-minute period, even if it's only for 5 seconds.
So what you're describing are demand charges,
Mhm.
and demand charges are typically not charged for residential customers. That is something that some commercial and business customers do have to pay, where there's an additional demand charge that is part of the rate that they have that's part of their billing. Going from an AMR meter to an AMI meter for a smart meter doesn't change the rate that you're in. So if you're currently a demand customer for, say, a business, you would still get demand charges. You have a meter now that actually is calculating that. We just can still only read it once a month. So your rate isn't going to change if you don't have a demand charge now. This won't cause you to get demand charge.
Now, can you see on the meter when it's switched off so you guys don't get your information? So if it says off, you're not getting any information out until you drive by.
So if
It's
it
not
says
going to you,
off,
we just are off the computer.
Yeah.
You know.
So if you opt out, it'll go through its displays, but in between each display, it will say it'll say a RAD off is what it says, RAD off, which stands for radio off, and it's not sending any of that information back to Eversource. So if you were to sit there with a pad and paper, you could write down the different data points that are on that. None of that information is getting conveyed back to Eversource, including basically no demand is even on that display because we use that interval data to calculate the demand. We won't even have that.
So you will not be charging peak rates ever?
So I'm just talking about the here and now. Any sort of rates.
So you're gonna do it in the future if you're only talking about the here and now, is that correct?
So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't look into the future, but
we
any
did,
sort
yes.
of rates do get approved through our regulator, and there's a whole rate making process. This meter has that data and can support time varying rates, but it itself is not causing time varying
But
rates.
you're
So in the
preparing to do that.
Right, you're gonna do that in the future, right?
So that at peak times, which could be for the individual, you could find out when my household, when I am able to do my laundry or cook or sit down and watch TV with my family. You can see that and you will charge me more during those times. And so, am
That
I
isn't our,
supposed-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
like, are we supposed to then, like, live with?
So it's not our intent to do that. Right now, our intent is to provide you the ability to control your own bill. If you want to think of other scenarios where we might have nefarious sort of motivations, that's not true. Right now, what we're looking to do right now is get data so that we can improve the reliability of the grid, so that we know when you're out, so that we can put your power back on more quickly during a storm, and so that you can then take more control over your own bill and your own energy usage.
But where they've installed these smart meters, that's what they've ended up doing. So on the
And-
West Coast, that's what they.
And your own representative told me personally that in 2009, you were gonna start doing peak rating. That's from your own representative, so address that.
I would need to take that back and give you a more fulsome answer. I guess I wasn't that representative, and I don't have that information to speak on.
The only thing I can
Well, it's gonna happen
one
in
point in time,
2009.
we did have a optional time of use rate for certain customers, and some customers wanted this because if your lifestyle used energy when everyone didn't, it would be cheaper for you. But I don't believe that's currently offered because very few people participated in that program. But we did have, I don't know if it started in '09. I do know because I'm a meter guy, we used to install those types of meters to support that, but it was in very low volume because there wasn't a lot of interest in it. And essentially the
So
way.
people are interested in being charged peak rates, that's what you just said.
Can we allow for some more questions?
Yeah, sure can.
They don't even want to answer, it's ridiculous.
So I am in favor of, process improvements, being able to gather data in a quicker way. However, I think one of the things that you're missing as an organization is that the amount of money that you are charging your customers continues to increase to a point where people can no longer afford it. So when you say your intent is not to do something, that may be your intent, but what past practices have shown is that it goes against what you are saying you're going to do because your rates continue to increase. So not only do I have the similar concerns as far as the lithium battery and what will be covered by our own homeowners insurances, I'm also thinking about the fact that, yes, you have somebody coming into our neighborhoods that are reading those meters right now. You say you're not gonna do a RIF or a layoff in any way. So my guess is that you're gonna take these very highly skilled individuals and redeploy them someplace else into your organization so that they can continue to do other work that is also important. If that's not gonna happen, then my guess is that the $34 that you're gonna be charging us every month is gonna go to retrain those individuals that are no longer gonna be driving through the neighborhoods to be able to read our meters. And by then, hopefully they'll be able to help your organization more and come up with ideas and a way to be able to cost save for your customers. So one of my questions is, with the $34 a month being the initial monthly charge, when is the plan for that to be able to go up? Is it just the first year? Or when are we looking for those prices to continue to increase? Because they're going to.
So we filed that pricing with the Department of Public Utilities, and I'm not aware of any plans to increase those prices. But any sort of price increase, any sort of rate or tariff increase, all has to get discussed with them and approved through that whole rate-making process.
But it's the delivery fees that are killing us. It's not the rates.
Yes, and just to add one more thing to that is that the administration is passing an affordability bill, and Governor Healy just sent a letter to the DPU to talk about lowering costs however they can. So to your question as to what is this sort of a bait and switch, we're just going to increase the price tomorrow. That is not the case. That is not going to happen inside in this environment right now, where all eyes are to try to mitigate any increases or decrease if we can. So that is not the plan to sort of start at 34 and then jack it up on you. That's not the intent. And if we do ultimately, just due to inflation, we have to pay people to go out, we need to pay them more every single year, things get more expensive. If we need to at some point, we would then need to go before the regulator and make a case, make an honest, transparent case as to why that's necessary.
But you told us that we're going to be paying $34 for somebody to come out and continue to read the meters as they are right now. So, as far as their pay increase, we're taking care of that for you already. One of the things that would have been more of a benefit in your presentation, so any other communities that you go into, your presentation is mainly just on, here's what the meter does, here's the information that's going to provide you, but it's not addressing the concerns that the communities are having with your price increases, with how the impact is going to be for their homes and the safety of that for their families and everything else. You might want to completely rethink what your presentations are going to be moving forward so that it addresses the concerns that people have, because you know what they are, you've heard them before. This is nothing new for you. You're coming in prepared to answer those questions, and you're not.
I appreciate that feedback. Sir?
I live in a condo complex of 40 units, and the units were built in 2005. About 4 years ago, one of the residents there had his meter changed by Eversource. It was Eversource initiated. There was an issue with the install on it. The equipment wasn't compatible or whatever, and he got he had to hire an electrician because it got broken by the installer of the meter. It sounds like we're going to get 40 meters installed now, and we may be at a great risk for that same equipment. And you mentioned an electrician is coming out, which is good, but this homeowner had a bill for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and Eversource refused to recompense for any of that. Would you now take responsibility for that financially if you need to do another electrician?
So what we've been doing is that electrician we've been paying for, we've not been passing those costs on to our customers.
Mm-hmm.
It is generally a case-by-case basis. It really depends upon what's wrong, but the vast majority of times for our residential customers, we've been incurring that cost. I think there's only one that we passed the cost back, and it was a commercial customer that had kind of a pre-existing condition there that needed to be taken care of that was really outside of doing the meter exchange. But that's why we have an electrician with us. So if we run into a problem in that meter socket, we can get it fixed right away and make sure that the customer has power and everything's good to go. And in some of these areas that we're working in, Some of the meter sockets are much older than what we're describing it as 2005. Some of them were put in the 50s and 60s. And with corrosion, some of them were quite old, and that's why we have this electrician on staff to be able to make those repairs and get everything up and going.
That's a satisfactory answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not the fear of Eversource, but it's the people in charge. And I've been in this state for a long time, and back when Deval Patrick was the governor, he wanted to have wind farms because it was, climate change, which in of itself is a hoax. But the cost of getting electricity from a windmill was very expensive, and he was mandating that you and northern Connecticut buy the power from them. And so you said, well, it's going to be expensive. We're going to have to pay for that, so we got to jack our rates up. We want a 25% increase. And they said, well, that's kind of not palatable to anyone. Let's come up with something else. So they came up with a plan where if you do 600 kilowatts per hour or per month, that's a normal amount of energy, which I don't know how they came up with that number. I got a house where we have 5 kids and 4 kids and 5 bedrooms and a pool and everything else. I do $2,200 an hour. So you charge, let's say, $5 for a kilowatt hour up to 600, and after that you charge 25% more for that extra amount of energy that you use. So basically, in the real free market, it would be the more you use, actually you get a discount for volume discount. But no, with Eversource and with this state, you're actually paying 25% more for any amount of energy you spend or you use over 600 kilowatt hours because they came up with that as a normal figure. The problem with this meter, and all you hear about 2030 plan and the smart cities and all the things you're hearing about coming down the road with digital everything, is at some point you're going to look at the amount of energy we're burning on that and you're going to say, well, you're going over your allotment this month and we're going to cut you off. And I don't care what you say about them, that's not going to happen, that's not your intent. But that's what this step is right here. That's the problem with a smart meter. That's
So,
what
I guess two quick things on that. I guess first, we do readings on your usage.
Yeah.
So in your scenario, if you were to go over an allotment, if we were inclined to do that, we would have already done it, right? If we have
we're not there
those
yet.
nefarious motivations, but we don't, and that's not our intention here. The intention here is just to provide you the ability to control what you're using. So if you decide, based on your bill, right, which sounds a little bit higher than the average bill, it at least gives you the tool to understand. I've been heating my pool. You mentioned you have a pool, right? I've been heating my pool and it's past the season. Maybe I don't do that anymore. So that's just an example that theoretically can provide you value and benefits from this.
Yeah, I just, we should have 2 gas pipelines put into Massachusetts, and energy would be a lot cheaper than doing windmills and solar, which that's a great idea. In Granville, we got all these solar panels. You're supposedly getting free energy. We never see our bill go down. Doing this now, our bills are going to go up every month out of this, and we've been doing it all along. So, like they say, why pay more just to have to do what we were doing before, which is just another fee. And that's where the problem lies. There are ways to get better energy into this state, and they aren't doing it. More really, we want to reduce the cost. Yeah, well, you had a chance 5 years ago when you should have brought natural gas into the state, and you didn't. So that's on you. And now with all the solar, I'm not sure that's even environmentally friendly, but I don't see it reducing our cost of energy at all in the state. I mean, it's just not going down. So.
Appreciate that, yeah. I don't think you've asked a question yet.
Can I go back to the security for a minute? You said you're encrypted and you're on top of that. Will you be doing any remote updates to the meters? And if you are, what will that do to the household? Will it have a blip? Will things turn off momentarily? What would that, how would that
I can
happen?
answer that. So the only sort of updates that would happen to the metering software is something called a firmware update. And that's really just that security patch. That's the biggest reason, is just the new security patches to keep the encryption as state of the art as we can keep it. And that will not cause any sort of disruption to your power. You won't even know that it happened. If you happen to go out and look at your meter while it was updating, you may notice something weird on the display, but that's the extent of it.
So we speak by the regulators, and you'll disagree with this, but the regulators are the politicians in the state of Massachusetts, right off the bat. So they set our delivery charge rates. That's a fact. And Eversource has many times has said that, we don't raise the rates, the Commonwealth does. And that's because Eversource asks permission to do that. So what happens next year in the spring, and partially the problem is Eversource asks for those delivery rate increases. So Massachusetts says sure, because Massachusetts, whether you want to agree with it or not, it is a fact that they get a cut of that. So that's why our delivery fees are the third highest in the country, okay? I can go over the border in Connecticut, and a raised ranch that belongs to my mother-in-law uses total bill $105 a month on average. My bill is over $300, and I live in a duplex, and I have Energy Star, everything. So what happens next year when the ballot initiative comes along that prevents you from charging that 30 whatever dollars a month for reading meters? Are you gonna come back and change my meter if I want it back to an analog meter? Or are you gonna reimburse me for those fees I paid? Or what are you gonna attach to our bill to start recouping that money?
So I can talk to the metering piece, but I can't necessarily talk to any of the other kind of rates and regulatory pieces to it. But really those analog meters, those aren't currently in manufacture. So if you have one of the old disc meters, and not everyone does, because we've been slowly replacing them as they fail, many people have a solid state meter that just doesn't happen to be a smart meter. The analog meters, we can't get those any longer, and they're all starting to near end of life. That might be a little bit different depending upon the manufacturer and that type of thing, but that's no longer a product that's available in the marketplace. So there's not going to be any more like analog meters.
So if we're opting out of it and the residents of the state vote to have your $34 a month bill shut down, what are you going to do? How are you going to attach that bill to our bills?
So yeah, we will obviously follow the letter of the law and whatever the regulator deems allowable and not allowable. Obviously, we don't have a plan in place for that. That is not part of our plan to have a negative outcome like that from our point of view. But obviously, if it were to come to pass, we would develop a plan and would be very transparent. We'd probably come right back into this auditorium and speak to you.
So what if you're gonna opt out? Why don't you just keep the meter you have and then you don't have to bother with that? Say, well, I'm gonna opt out anyway, I don't need that meter because you're not gonna get the info except once a month when you drive by. Why even get that meter? Why can't I just say, I don't even want the meter, I'm gonna opt out, just let me have what I have. It's digital, you drive by, you read it, no difference.
Right.
Why should I even get that meter? Why do you make me get this meter?
Good question.
Charge me $42 to do it, by the way, which should be free at least. But I shouldn't have to get that meter if mine's working and you go by and you read it when you drive by. Why should I even get this meter?
So part of the reason why we are changing out all the meters in Western Massachusetts is, as I was saying before, like many of the meters that we have are kind of reaching the end of their useful life and need to be exchanged anyway. So we're going from that automated meter reading technology over to an AMI smart technology. And so all of those are going to get replaced, and because we're doing away with automated meter reading technology, we're no longer going to have meter reading vans that are driving up and down all the roads once a month collecting those radio signals to get those readings.
Well, you will if we opt out.
If you opt out, we still won't have a meter reading van. We're actually kind of going back a step, and we're actually going to send someone to physically look at your meter. We won't be able to do the drive-by any longer.
Well, that's smart.
But the amount of money that you're gonna save from all the members of individuals who are out there driving in neighborhoods.
You don't need the $34 a month. What's the purpose of that?
You actually said discount was $34 a month for a smart meter.
You're gonna save more money by not having to maintain trucks, gas, their salaries, right? Because again, you say that you're not having a layoff in any way, but where are those individuals gonna go?
So the fee pays for the now inefficient way of reading meters. So the $34.
Salary for all those individuals that are no longer gonna be doing it is not gonna help.
Yeah, so the $34 was what the regulator agreed with us is a fair amount in order to compensate the company for doing that service.
But you already do it right now, let me keep saying that.
I have some more questions on Zoom.
Yeah, let's take a
Sure.
couple of Zoom questions.
Some people are asking about solar. I know I saw it out in your van, how that affects, and
pretty excited to be able to see all the data that's going to be available to them. So nothing really changes in terms of what your end bill is going to be. However, now you're going to be able to see your generation kind of day by day. You'll see kind of when it's sunniest outside, you'll see that you're actually generating more energy and receiving a larger credit.
And there's also, if they have underground utilities, where are you gonna mount these devices that you didn't show up here, I don't think?
Okay, so we're not moving the customer's meter socket as any of this. So wherever your meter socket is,
You're talking about
the receiver.
Yeah.
Okay, so one receiver can carry kind of a pretty large neighborhood. We haven't had a major problem in Western Mass with not finding places to put these, because we can put one on a pole pretty far away.
Yeah, there, let's answer that one, number C.
This one?
C.
Yeah, so BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street lead the list. Co-chair Larry Fink is, no. CEO Larry Fink is now co-chair of the World Economic Forum, given the WEF's focus on control and surveillance. Please explain why smart meters shouldn't be seen as a form of control. And what I want to say is, I mean, I think we are all extremely frustrated with Eversource and with the monopoly that they have that really starts at the top at our government, at our state government. And we wanted to make sure that we give everybody information on these smart meters that are being installed in our homes that we don't have control over. But I don't think these guys can answer these types of questions. This is where we need to go higher. This is where, maybe the Citizens Against Eversource or groups need to go directly to your legislators and really get to the bottom of it, or try to get some answers regarding, who holds the shares in Eversource and who is making us all on electricity and not gas. All of these are very important questions, but I don't think that this was the forum for it. I mean, it's very frustrating. We want to get answers, and we want to get them from anybody that we can, especially employees of Eversource. And I think that we could be here for days to try to air our frustrations on how our delivery is this much and our supply is this much. And I am 100% with everybody. But do I think that they're going to sit here and tell us how it's not controlling us and they can just shut off our electricity at any time? And earlier today, when I was speaking with them, and they were telling me, we can't shut off your electricity. There's regulations. They have to go through it. When you don't pay your bill, it takes a long time to shut it off. However, I was in New York City a couple of years ago in the summer, and the grid got overwhelmed, and so they shut off electricity to a bunch of part of the city. I was watching the news, so it wasn't on national news yet, and I just thought, how can you just shut off electricity to parts of the city? Who chooses that? So these are all important issues. But I don't want to discount the work that they do, but I just don't think that they nearly have the answers that these real deep questions and issues that really is the foundation of our utility companies has.
Maybe they should have come with their lawyer.
So, yeah, I wasn't going to ask this question because it says, is it a form of control? I don't think anybody can answer that.
What about pacemakers in the smart meter though? That has to do with the smart meter. If
So
you
you're
have
talking
a
about
pace-
RF?
Yeah, if you have a pacemaker, they're saying that you shouldn't have one of these installed in your house.
So if you have something that's very sensitive to RF, whether that's a pacemaker or any other device that's really sensitive to it, and this goes to the same for the meter that you most likely already have in your house now, is you need to stay 18 inches away from it.
Okay, but if you can transmit to the pole on the street, and you're saying it has a wide range,
Yes.
and you're saying that someone within the house that's like way less of that range won't be affected if they have a pacemaker.
So the strength of the signal is completely safe after 18 inches. And it's similar to like your cell phone.
Okay, but how is the strength of the signal reaching the pole on the street then? If it's only 18 inches?
So 18 inches would be the area in which it would be dangerous for someone with a pacemaker. It can still get out, but it's no longer any dangerous kind of radio frequency level.
Okay, and then there's also accounts of people who have tendency to have seizures that they should not be around it at all either. Is this transparent on your website at all? I haven't seen it, so that's why I'm saying.
I'm not sure what information we have on the website regarding RF.
There's also a question that relates to that as, is there any sort of protections that you can put on the meters? Like, safeguards,
Like a shield around.
shield, that's what I read.
Oh, that like a Mylar shield.
No, aluminum foil.
Like a.
I'm having a big sale of my.
So we've seen people that have sort of, other utilities have seen this. We haven't had smart meters long enough, but there are customers that decided they didn't want to pay an opt-out fee, but they wanted to opt out. So they installed a cage over the meter to basically block the signal. And I think that's what's being described here. So obviously that's not something that we're looking to have you do, because we want to be able to read the meter and have that communication so that you get all the benefits from your smart meter. But essentially I have heard, I don't know whether it works or not, but I have heard cases where people try to build their own Faraday cage around the meter to stop it from getting out.
What are the ramifications?
But I have no idea whether that works or not, and it's
I'm
definitely.
gonna try it though.
There's a question if there are any independent peer-reviewed studies not funded by the meter manufacturers or the utilities to say that they're safe from RF radiation at the exact pulse rates and power levels you're deploying.
So I'm not an expert in RF. I know there's a number of studies that have been done, but I don't have enough knowledge to be able to quote them or say exactly what they are.
Yeah, we can take this back as well. If, you know, the two of us don't have the answers, we're happy to take these back and work with Nicole in order to give you guys that information. Or if, you know, if it's missing on an FAQ on our website, we're happy to add it as well.
Yeah, I just think if you're gonna kind of force us all to get these installed, that we should be aware of all the risks, you know? Not you.
Yeah.
Once again,
I get it.
sorry that you guys have
The
the
you, yeah,
unfortunate,
generally.
you know.
But we could do another one. We could
Yeah.
we could do this again, you know, with questions they can't
Yeah,
answer.
because my questions have been specifically about the smart meter, although I really wanted to talk about delivery fees. But I was talking about the smart meters, which are very different.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I don't think you've asked one.
Who's paying to keep the lithium-ion battery charged? And another quick question is, how much does that meter actually cost you for each home in the entire state of Massachusetts?
So I can't answer the cost per meter because I don't know it offhand.
Where is the meter made?
The meter is made in, it's either North or South Carolina. I forget which of the two Carolinas, but it is made here in the United States.
But you don't know what you don't have no idea what that costs.
I don't have that information available.
Seems like that should be pretty easy information to know. This isn't the first town meeting you've been to.
Well, one of the first times we've been asked that question, so we're happy to
Really?
we're happy to dig that up and you know, similarly with some of the health stuff, follow up.
It says $50 to $200.
Okay, good.
Okay, there we go.
Are you gonna mandate paying by, over the internet, or are you still gonna be able to send in a check?
This
Seems
is
like a good
separate
idea.
from how we're billing. This is just to provide more information on your bill.
How many employees will have access to the usage data? And the reason I ask is it seems pretty simple to know when the usage goes down, if somebody's home or not.
So, I can't give you an exact number, but I can say that the people that are looking, like in our billing system, so you call the call center, you have a question about your bill, they see your bill, but they can't live see what's happening with the meter. So it's a very limited number of people that have access to that part of the system, and that data is really per meter. It's when someone's looking at it in that system, it's this meter is saying this. It's not John Smith at this address. It's simply the meter number, and these are its attributes, and then it gets married up with the billing system.
So the data is not attached to our personal address.
The billing system combines the two, but it's only taking that end result. So the data that's coming from this meter isn't saying I belong to so-and-so at this address. It's just saying, this is my name, basically the meter number, and these are my readings.
And how can you send it if you don't?
And additionally, we have a lot of firewalls in place. So I'm a manager of community relations. I cannot see anyone's data. Right? You need to have a specific team is only allowed to see that in the background. So we do have safeguards in place to keep data secure.
Well, I heard, good question, if you don't know what address, how do you know where to send the person then if the power's out?
So in like the meter information, the meter itself isn't saying I'm at this address, but the meter number in our outage management system is associated with an address. But in that if you had access to outage management, you can only see outages based on that meter. You can't see anything to do with billing. So the information is kind of all separated based on task.
Okay.
Fred, what do you got for us?
You and I had this discussion a lot earlier when we got here, way too early. But it was a good discussion. I'd like to know what frequencies you guys are using. I read 902 up to 923, 1.2, 2.4, and possibly 433. Now, my question, which we talked about earlier, was you're going to have a bunch of data bursts because you're going to be transmitting out 15-minute intervals, correct? A small burst every 15 minutes. Okay. In that burst, that's going to create RF interference, no matter what, even if it's data, voice, digital, analog, doesn't matter. When the signal is there, it's interference. So if you're running on 903, 923, 1.2, 2.4, you guys, and I don't know what the frequency is, but from what I studied, you're running in all the bands that run garage door openers, baby monitors, refrigerators, televisions, security systems, everything. Because that's the band that you're authorized to use. So I'd like to know how all this interference is going on. Now, they're all not transmitting all at the same time. His meter's going to go off, her meter's going to go off, and that poor guy right there with 40 around him is bursting all the time. So what happens if we find out you're jamming a bunch of equipment? Garage doors start going haywire. Baby monitors don't work anymore because of that. What are you going to do about it?
I'll do my best to kind of address the last things.
Well, and what is the power up? What's the power up? Because if you're running in 1.2, 2.4, you're going to need some power to get to that receiver. So, can you answer just a couple of those questions?
I can answer a couple of them, but I don't have the tech specs specifically on the radio in this. I can say it's in the 900 megahertz band, but I don't know specifically which frequency it's
well, your
putting out.
frequency, huh?
Yeah.
And that's to prevent the interference.
Exactly. I do know that these meters have been deployed throughout the country.
But it doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah.
Also, it's the way our AMR meters work now. They're kind of working the same way. They're sending a radio frequency all the time. It has less data in it, but they're sending a radio frequency all the time. And we have not, and it's operating in a similar band as this is. And we have not had any issues with interference with the AMR meters.
I mean, I got a guy next to me with solar panels, totally at random. When those panels go crazy, he knocks out my security system out. Because his house is so close, and his panels are garbage, and the converter is garbage, and all that. But nobody seems to own the problem, because when this is mandated, the FCC also has a label that says, you must accept the interference. That's us. So we have to accept any interference that you produce because you guys which you are sharing with a bunch of other appliances that we have. But yeah, if that thing goes screwy and screws up our house or whatever it is, sorry guys, you have to accept the interference. That's the law. I'm not saying they're good. You're saying they're all around. They are. Being in mass quantity doesn't mean they're good.
Yes.
So to his point, I mean, you own all the poles in this town, right? You're wired already to everybody's houses. Why don't you just hardwire it? I mean, it would.
This is
how
a
is,
more.
how is this cheaper? How
It is
this
a more
less, less, you know, less like dangerous. Like, than
It
just
is a more
hardwiring it?
cost-effective solution than, say, running Ethernet cable across the entire town to every meter. Which gentleman?
in the back.
All the way in the back.
First of all, thank you guys for coming in and hearing us out and taking some questions. I have, and good news is, at least you don't work for Comcast. First, how do you handle neighborhoods where there are no poles? And I don't know what's the radius that you guys can hit. We do have larger tracts of land that have been developed, and under our current rules in town, all the utilities are underground.
So this actually isn't a problem that we came into in Southwick, but it is an issue that we had elsewhere in some of the hill towns of Western Mass. And there are a couple sites that we're still working on a solution that just have a handful of meters basically associated with them, people that really live far away from each other. And we're still working on that solution for those customers. We're evaluating some options, but that has not been a problem here in Southwick.
And secondly, you mentioned it in passing, but I'd like to hear it again. You are not going to sell the aggregate or individual data that's acquired from these meters.
No, we're not selling any of the data from these meters.
Thank you.
Any other ones online?
Yeah, there's just citing this frequencies. Okay? If anybody wants to see that. Who does have access to the detailed usage data? Internal utility or third parties? Will it be anonymized, aggregated, or identifiable?
So for customers that wish to share their data with a third party, that was made available kind of through the portal. And the reason why somebody might want to do that is maybe they're considering some sort of energy efficiency solution or some sort of solar panel solution, and that's why that's there. But we're not sharing any of that data.
Right now.
So one more question is, this individual is over 300 feet from the road, but did you answer, Doug? I might have started reading. Okay, you did answer. Okay.
We didn't run into that issue in Southwick.
And somebody is asking, is this a done deal? So we don't have a choice. The whole state doesn't have a choice. We're doing everything we can. I, through the select board, who really wanted this for everyone to really get to understand, have this meeting so we can understand what smart meters are. But there's no other choices for electricity. There's no other choices for the utility.
You can sign the ballot initiative.
Yes, we have them right here.
No offense.
Yes.
What is Eversource's projected profit in the meter change?
I have no idea.
So it's definitely, they're gonna make it, you're not doing it because you're being nice people to give us information we don't need. You're making money,
Maximize profits.
whether you're getting
by
rid of employees,
That's all.
you're getting rid of billing personnel, you're
Yeah,
making money.
unfortunately, we don't have that information.
It'd be a good thing to know when you come out to talk to people about it.
We'll add that to the list for sure. Thank you,
So
though.
does that mean you're coming back with like someone who knows something?
Okay, yeah, last couple here.
We'll have meetings about lithium batteries.
You ask them to bring something in
Well, they know what they know their area of expertise.
Right, but now you're saying we need some more expertise, right?
This wasn't just for
The lithium batteries,
smart meters.
the radiation
radiation or anything like that?
So, the concern that some people have about lithium batteries and meters is more of just a lithium battery concern in general. And my team is the team that ends up talking to people if they want to opt out. So we have heard this concern from our customers, and that some lithium batteries and various personal electronics throughout the United States have at times caught fire. So people are concerned that if there's a device with a lithium battery in it, it could potentially catch fire. And if your concern is where your meter is placed, we don't mandate that your meter be necessarily in a certain place. There are some regulations that has to be so high off the ground and it should be outside. But if you wish to move your meter box that your meter is located in, you certainly could do that, but there'd probably be a large electrician cost associated with that. But we're not requiring that it be on a certain wall
Does it
somewhere.
give off radiation or the battery?
So the battery concern, some people are concerned that it could potentially be a fire hazard. And then there is the kind of the RF communication, and this happens on meters that you have now. And as long as you're more than 18 inches away from it, you're within perfectly safe levels of any sort of radio signal.
So what are the ramifications of putting a blocking
Maybe one.
tinfoil hat on your meter?
So I don't think we've worked through all of those yet. In the past, when people have done that with AMR meters, we've asked them to remove it, and we've typically had to remove it ourselves and notify the customer that this is being removed.
But what are the legal ramifications of that? Do you have any legal recourse? Or can we just keep putting one back up after you come along and take it out?
We probably do, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not representing our legal team. We do have a legal right to access our meter, but I'm not saying what we would do in terms of a legal recourse because I don't know.
Just so we could hear everybody, if people could raise their hand, please.
If you're opting out and you are thinking of doing that, why don't you guys just make one that so when the guy manually comes and reads it, he takes it off, reads it, and then he puts it back on for us?
I mean, that's something we can think about and possibly entertain. I'm not sure the logistics of that. But yeah, if it's opted out, there is no radio signal coming out of it.
Right, but
Sir?
My house was a rental for a long, long time. It had some kind of ban that the owner or the electric company can get involved. I don't know if it's over non-payment, whatever the issue. But because I'm now the permanent owner, that issue, they put a new meter, an analog meter. I guess that's gonna only be there a little while. But it's in a steel box, has the typical glass bulb, and then the ring that clamps it. Does that white thing fit into the same kind of box?
Yeah, so this will fit in the same meter socket that your existing meter fits into now.
All right, the rest of it, I'm not too worried about it. The government's gonna do what they're gonna do, and they mandate this, mandate that, but if I don't have to get a new box put on.
That will fit in the existing box. Yes.
So when they actually come, do you opt out when they come to your house and they do a manual meter reading? Or is it a traditional meter reading like they've been taking it to this point, or are they gonna plug into it and they're gonna get all the same data that you're transmitting out, but in like a lump?
Right.
They're basically coming with a sheet of paper and they're writing down your meter number, and there's 4 reads on the front of the meter. It's old-fashioned meter reading, which we haven't had in some time because we've been doing AMR for over 20 years in most of Massachusetts.
Some level of privacy.
Exactly, yes. If you opt out, it's old-fashioned meter reads.
Okay, all right.
Somebody raising their hand, wait a minute, go ahead, sorry.
Sure.
Just, with data being so important, are you collecting, for the millions of meters that are out there right now, have you collected any data in regard to some of the health concerns that have been brought up in the communities that they exist right now?
So have we collected data?
Are you aware of any issues, health issues that exist in the communities where you've already implemented all of these, millions of meters.
So there's been a number of studies, and when we kind of selected this, we selected this particular solution because we felt it was safe.
But you don't have any data that you can share.
So there are definitely some studies that have been done on smart metering, on RF that's available. Some of it may be on our website, some of it is on the manufacturer's website that manufactures this product that we're buying it from.
We don't have any of that.
We haven't done any studies ourselves on this. Massachusetts is the first area that we're deploying smart meters. It's not like we have this in another territory. Yes.
If that's run by the municipality, it's run by the.
So it's basically a backup battery.
Okay.
So that when it loses power, the data that's inside it isn't just automatically gone.
So what is the old one? How does that work?
So it depends upon what style meter you have. If you have a much older glass meter, I believe that's a kind of like the old-fashioned nickel battery. It doesn't have a battery in it. The newer ones, if you happen to have a meter with a digital display, it actually has the same battery that's in this.
In the back.
What's the longevity of these? What's the longevity of these?
So we're anticipating a useful life of these meters to be approximately 20 years each. But with that, some are going to fail before that, and some will last longer.
So if they do fail, is that at the cost of the customer? Or you guys?
No, just like today, if your meter fails today, we come out and replace it. It doesn't cost you anything.
Okay, and can a licensed electrician pull these meters if they need to? Or do they have to contact you, have you come and take them off?
No, so it's just like today, right? If an electrician needed to do electrical work on your house, sometimes the best way of turning power off to your house to make it safe is to pull the meter, because then everything below the meter on a residential service would then be off.
Right.
So if the electrician is licensed to do that, they'd still typically call it a work order with Eversource, but they'd be able to do it on this meter as they would do with an AMR meter. Sort of the difference is if they do any sort of unregistered work, Eversource might now think there's a power outage there when there isn't.
I have a question.
Oh.
Oh,
So
so
we'll
did
go-
everybody
we'll go
else, is
here
there
and then
anybody
one
new?
more
Is there
back here.
anybody new asking a question?
There's somebody old.
If they opt out, can you remove the battery before you install the meter?
If we took the battery out of this, it wouldn't function correctly. There's it's an electronic device. I haven't personally played around with it to see if clipping the battery would allow it to work, but it's soldered on there. It's not like a battery that plugs into like a flashlight or something. It's part of the circuit board.
And then the individual that lives 300 feet from the road, will that inhibit the reading? And what will happen if you can't read, if that, whatever that device is that reads it, the big white thing with a repeater or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
What happens if it doesn't read somebody's meter? Do they get an estimate?
So if for some reason a meter couldn't be read, just like today, even with the AMR drive-bys, sometimes signals don't get picked up, but they do get an estimate. So if for some reason we couldn't read a meter for an entire month-long billing cycle, it would estimate, that way they still get a bill. We are not anticipating having any issues with driveways or that sort of thing here in Southwick. But until we actually install these meters and have them communicate, I can't say with 100% certainty that everything is going to connect the first time around. Yes?
So if my driveway is 1,200 foot from the road and your guy's driving by for the month reading, does that read the meter from my house? Clearly?
Right
Or
now-
have you just been estimating all these times?
I would have to see your bill to know for certain, but your bill would say it's an estimated, it would say estimated, if it's an estimated bill, but most likely it's an actual bill. And if they can get it from the street, they will. If you notice a meter reader pulls into your driveway once a month, it might be because you're too far away from the line.
No.
That-
FedEx and UPS and all them are on the camera, but
So-
not.
Yeah, so it's reaching the street.
So isn't it easier for me to just take a picture of the meter once a month and send it to you?
Yeah.
And then I'd be out, I don't have to pay that monthly fee. It says the date and the time and everything when I take that picture.
And we have had a few customers suggest this to
Yeah.
us. This is not part of any of the current rate plans.
make money. So if these are not good for New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California, why are they good for us?
So I'm gonna have to kind of look things up, but I do believe there are smart meters in all of those jurisdictions.
Actually, they're not allowing that, according to my research, which is expensive. So why is it good for us if it's not good for them?
We can't speak for why those states did or didn't do anything. We can only talk to what Eversource is doing.
Okay.
Nothing is 100% accurate. If I suspect my meter is not accurate, what can I do?
So the same thing that you're doing today. So if today you suspect your meter isn't accurate, you can call Eversource and you can ask for a meter test, and they'll send a technician to your home and perform an accuracy test on the meter. This is something that happens today. I can say that when we go out and do accuracy tests on meter, because I used to be part of that department, sometimes we find issues, but it's never an accuracy problem. The most common issue we found is in like multi-tenant dwellings, where at some point in time, an electrician put the meters back in the wrong order or something like that. It is incredibly rare to find a meter kind of at all that's giving a bad reading, but if you suspect that, it is within your rights to ask for a meter test. Yes?
I haven't seen the meters. Can you look at the dial and see numbers?
Yeah, so this will have a display that will actually show numbers on it. It gives 4 readings. So it's the first one you want to look at if you're just a regular residential customer. If you're a solar customer, there's a couple other ones you want to pay attention to as well. But it's the first display on there as it cycles around.
So rather than a little note painted numbers on
It's a lot easier to read than the
device,
mechanical.
you have
Yes.
with diodes.
Yeah, it's an LCD display.
Yeah.
You won't see anything now because it's not plugged in, but it's right there. Yes.
Are there any other questions? New
What happens if your bill goes up dramatically when you get a smart meter?
So
That-
we have a new
new question.
That's a good question, even though I'm not new.
We're gonna wrap it up.
So I'm not sure if it's the same band as like cell phone service, but you've got the signal going from the meter to this box that's on
Yes.
a pole, and then that meter on the pole is sending the signal to billing or your whatever office it goes to. If we're in an area that has poor cell service, like drop calls, and is that going to be affected, is our reading going to be affected by that?
So we did the design here in Western Mass. That was a challenge that we had in determining where to put these access points on the road, because some of those areas had poor cell phone coverage. And one of the neat thing about the solution that we have is our access points are using a multi-carrier SIM card. So kind of in the past, if say it was Verizon, it would only communicate with Verizon. This access point can actually communicate with multiple cell phone carriers. And so if Verizon's not available, it can try AT&T, it can try T-Mobile. And we put these in places where they're going to be able to reach out.
But so it won't theoretically affect for my reading to be accurate.
It won't affect any accuracy. If we can't read it, it might force an estimate, but it won't affect the accuracy of your meter in any way.
Ultimately, I think that everybody has to do their due diligence when this does roll out and make sure that everything is accurate and you're not overpaying and getting overcharged and whatever the case may be. We have to just try to do our best to roll with it. And we are here to help in any way that we can to answer your questions or to try to make you feel more comfortable about what is being forced on us on a daily basis with not even just electricity, but with so many things. Please reach out to us. My door is open. The selectmen are here. We have a lot of town employees here even tonight. And I will work with Eversource to have another meeting, but maybe not about smart meters, maybe about trying to understand these charges, because nobody can understand why your delivery is here and your supply is here. It's not right for us to have to endure this, so, you
But
know.
maybe on that meeting, if you get one together, you should have the state legislature.
Yeah,
So
I don't
that's
see any
what-
reps here. You
Yeah,
don't see any
yeah.
reps here, do you?
That's
Or
where
higher
the
up.
change starts, right?
Right.
And we're not politicians, so.
Actually, Eversource has just rolled out a new bill.
Yeah, I
A new
know.
rate bill, and now they're showing us what one portion of the delivery is, and
Yes.
it's quite interesting.
Yes, so
to see.
there is a new bill coming out. You'll see it when you get it. But please remember, we're here to answer any of your questions. Thank you all for coming tonight. And just be on the lookout for the next meeting when we can schedule it.
Yeah, thank you all.